You've been working hard for years. The
Another
number in your
sunrise,
account does not
another
show
day
it.
of work.
You wake up early. You stay late. You say no to things so you can say yes to work. And still, at the end of the month, you check your balance and feel nothing. My friend, that feeling is not weakness. That is information. Hard work is not the problem. Direction is the problem, and nobody taught you the difference. Stay until the end. The final lesson is the one that will change the number. This is English Story Studio, real lessons about money and wealth. In English, you can follow. I worked 14-hour days for 3 years. The number in my account did not reflect 1 hour of that. Not because I was not working hard. I was working harder than almost anyone I knew. I got to the office before the sun came up. I answered messages at midnight. I gave the work everything I had, and the math still did not add up. Maybe you know that feeling. You earn a real income. You are not spending recklessly, but the end of the month arrives and the account is nearly empty. You think, maybe I just need to work more. So you work more, and the account is still nearly empty. Here is what I found. The problem was never the amount of effort. The problem was the system I was operating inside. I was pouring energy into a machine that was not designed to make me wealthy. It was designed to make someone else wealthy. Using my time, this video covers 7 lessons about why hard work alone fails to build wealth. These are not motivational ideas. They are mechanisms, systems, specific financial truths that explain exactly why smart, hardworking people stay stuck. I am not going to tell you to work less. I am going to show you why working in the wrong direction is the most expensive mistake a person can make. Let us start with the first one, because this one took me the longest to accept. Lesson 1. You're selling the one thing that cannot be replaced. Time is the only asset you cannot earn back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose a client and find another. But 1 hour spent is 1 hour gone. Every person alive has exactly 24 hours in a day. The billionaire and the broke man both have the same 24. The difference is not the number of hours. The difference is what those hours are attached to. Most hardworking people sell their time directly. They work an hour, they earn a fixed amount. They work 2 hours, they earn double. It feels fair. It feels honest. And for a while, it is enough. But there is a ceiling built into that model, and the ceiling does not care how talented you are. Think about what that model actually means. Your income is capped by the number of hours you can physically work. You cannot work 30 hours in a day. You cannot clone yourself. So your income has a hard limit, and no matter how much you raise your rate, you are still trading 1 unit of time for 1 unit of money. Warren Buffett understood this before most people had thought about it clearly. He said, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die." That is not a motivational quote. That is a description of the two systems. In one system, money stops when you stop. In the other, money moves independently of your body. I know someone who worked as a consultant for 11 years. He was excellent. His clients trusted him completely. His hourly rate was high by any normal measure. But every year he had to start over. January came and the revenue was 0 again. He had income, not wealth. The moment he stopped working, the income stopped too. He had built nothing that ran without him. Look at your income right now. If you stopped working for 60 days, what would happen to it? If the answer is it disappears, you are in the time for money trap. That is not a judgment. That was me too for years. Open a notes app right now. Write 2 columns, active and passive. Fill in every income source you have. If the passive column is empty, that is the most important financial fact about your life right now. Do not close the app until both columns are filled. Lesson 2. The ladder is real, but it falls to the wrong roof. Here is a number. The average person spends 90,000 hours working across their lifetime. 90,000 hours. That is more time than most people spend with their children, their friends, their own health combined. And the system says, climb the ladder, get promoted, work harder, earn a raise, become the senior version, then the manager, then the director. That ladder is real. The promotions are real. The raises are real. But most people do not ask, where does this ladder end? Robert Kiyosaki wrote about this in a way that stayed with me. He said the rich do not work for money. Money works for them. Most people read that and think it means the rich are lazy. It does not. It means the rich have built or bought systems that generate income independently. They remove themselves from the direct equation between time and money. The ladder in most companies goes up to a point. That point is still inside a salary. It is still active income. It is still someone else's system. A director at a large company earns well, but if that director loses the job, the income is gone overnight. The director has been climbing a ladder that was leaning against someone else's building the whole time. I am not saying quit your job tomorrow. I am not saying employment is wrong. I am saying know what the ladder is attached to, and start thinking about whether you are building anything of your own on the side. I spent 3 years climbing a ladder at full speed. I was getting better at my work. I was getting recognition. I was becoming valuable to the company. But the company owned the value I was creating. I was not accumulating anything that belonged to me. My skills were growing. My bank account was not growing at the same rate. The ladder is not the enemy. The mistake is thinking the ladder is the whole plan. Stop. Open your banking app right now. Look at your balance. Look at the date. Think about how many hours you worked this month to produce that number. Now ask, is that trade sustainable for 30 more years? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, that discomfort is pointing somewhere important. The question to hold after this lesson is this. What are you building that you will still own in 5 years? Lesson 3. Your salary is a rented life. I got a raise. I have said those words. They felt good. They were supposed to feel good. A raise means you are doing well. You are valued. You are moving forward. But here is what a raise actually is. It is a scheduled increase inside someone else's system. It is permission granted by another person to keep a slightly larger share of the value you create. You do not set the number. You do not control the conditions. You do not own the outcome. This is not a complaint about employers. Employers provide structure, stability, resources. That is a real exchange of value. But the person receiving a salary should understand exactly what they have. They have a rented income. It belongs to them only as long as the conditions remain the same. In 2008 and again in 2020, millions of people discovered that their salary was not a guarantee. Companies that seemed permanent disappeared in weeks. Salaries that felt solid were cut or eliminated overnight. The people who survived those moments were not always the hardest workers. They were the ones who had built something outside the salary. Here is a specific mechanism most people miss. When your salary increases, your spending typically increases to match. This is called lifestyle inflation. You earn more, so you allow yourself more. The car improves. The apartment improves. The apartment improves. The holidays improve. And then the gap between income and savings stays almost exactly the same, even though the number on the paycheck is larger. I watched this happen to myself in real time. My income went up. My life got more expensive. My savings grew slowly. I was on a faster treadmill. The treadmill looked better, but I was still running in place. The fix is not complicated, but it requires a decision. Next time your income increases, before you adjust your life to match, Move a percentage of that increase directly into a savings or investment account, not the large percentage at first. Even 20 or 30% of the raise automatically before it touches your normal spending. You will not feel it. But over time, you will see it. The raise starts building something instead of just raising the cost of your life. The salary is not the enemy either, but it is not a strategy. It is a starting point. Lesson 4. Leverage is not a dirty word. What if 1 unit of your effort could produce 10 units of result? That is leverage. And most people only know one version of it. Debt. They hear leverage and they think of borrowing money and losing it. That version exists, but it is only one kind. Leverage is any mechanism that multiplies output beyond input. It is the reason one writer can reach 1 million readers and one teacher can affect 1,000 students across time. The writing is done once. The teaching is recorded once. The effort is multiplied by the system that distributes it. There are 4 types of leverage. Time leverage. Other people's time working on your behalf. Financial leverage. Other people's or institutions' money working in your direction. Systems leverage. Processes and technology that work without you. And audience leverage. Trust you have built with a group that responds when you act. Warren Buffett is the clearest example of financial leverage done correctly over a long time. He has said many times that his greatest investment skill is patience combined with capital compounding. He does not trade hourly. He does not sprint. He allows money to compound across decades. The leverage is time plus system. The effort is relatively small. The outcome is enormous. Most hardworking people avoid leverage because it feels like risk. And they are right. Every form of leverage carries risk. But here is what they miss. Operating without leverage is also a risk. It is the risk of running out of time before you run out of bills. It is the slow risk, the invisible risk, the one nobody warns you about. I know someone who ran a small service business for 7 years. He was the business. He did the work, he managed the clients, he handled the admin. He earned well, but he could never take a holiday without the business suffering. He could never get sick without losing money. He had no leverage at all. Then he hired one person and built one simple process for client onboarding. His income did not immediately double, but his time freed up enough for him to see other opportunities. That one decision changed the trajectory of the business. Look at the work you do most often. Find the task that repeats most. Ask, can this be documented, delegated, or automated? Not everything can, but most people find at least one thing that can. Start there. 1 unit of leverage is enough to show you how the model works. Lesson 5. The market does not pay for effort. A man I knew spent 15 years becoming one of the best tailors in his city. He worked 6 days a week. His suits were exceptional. His clients trusted him completely, and he earned a decent living. But only a decent living. He could not scale. Every suit required his hands. His income was capped by one number. How many suits could he finish in a week? Across town, another man had learned basic alterations. He opened a small shop. He hired 2 people. He built a simple process for every job that came in. His work was good, not exceptional. But his income grew every year. When he wanted a holiday, the shop kept running. The market does not reward effort. It rewards value delivered at scale. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths for skilled, hardworking people. Because it means that being excellent is not enough. You also have to think about how that excellence reaches the world. The structure matters as much as the skill. A surgeon earns more than a manual laborer. Not because surgery is physically harder, because the value delivered is harder to replace. The market prices value and replaceability. It does not price sweat. Andrew Carnegie understood this before the modern economy made it obvious. He said he would rather earn 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of his own. That is not a description of laziness. It is a description of value multiplication. Carnegie built structures where other people's skills created wealth that extended far beyond what one man could produce alone. Bill Gates saw the same logic in software. One piece of code, written once, could be sold millions of times. The effort was front-loaded. The income was not. Every additional copy of Windows cost almost nothing to produce, but it sold for full price. The business separated effort from income by design. That is not an accident. That is architecture. Here is the question this lesson asks. What is the structure through which your skill currently reaches the world? Is it one-to-one? 1 hour of your time per one client? Or is it one-to-many? One unit of effort that reaches multiple people or produces multiple outcomes. Write the actual structure down, not as an idea. Write what you do today. Then ask what would need to change for this to reach 10 times more people without 10 times more of your time. That question is not comfortable. But it is the right one. Lesson 6. The system is the asset. Most people build a career. A few people build a system. The difference between those two things is the difference between income and wealth. A career depends on you. You get better. You earn more. You stop, it stops. A system depends on a process. It runs whether you are present or not. Most people understand this in theory. Almost nobody builds the system before they need it. Here is why systems are so powerful. A system compounds. Every improvement you make multiplies across every future use. Improve a system by 10%. Every output of that system improves by 10%. Improve only your personal skills and only your direct output improves. The leverage ratio is completely different. Ray Kroc did not invent the best hamburger. He was the first to say so himself. What he built was the best system for producing a consistent hamburger at scale. Every McDonald's produces roughly the same product, not because every employee is exceptional, because the system is designed that way. The system is the asset, not the food, not the employees. The process that any employee can follow is where the real value lives. Most small businesses never reach this. The owner is the system. Everything passes through the owner's hands and the owner's time. That is not a business. That is a job with extra paperwork and extra risk. My friend, stop here. I need to say something directly. I ran my own operation for years where I was the system. Every client came through me. Every decision passed through me. I thought that was what building something meant. It was not. It was a more stressful version of employment. The day I built my first process that ran without me and saw it produce a result while I was not in the room was the day I understood what the word asset actually means. You do not need a large team to start. You need one documented process, one written checklist, one written checklist, one repeated task handled by a simple tool. Systems do not start as systems. They start as decisions to stop doing everything yourself. The asset you are building is not the product. It is not the service. It is the process that delivers both when you are not in the room. Write down the one task in your work that you do repeatedly and that someone or something else could do if it were properly documented. That task is your starting point. Document it this week, not next month. This week. Lesson 7. Direction is the multiplier. Here is a challenge. Think about the last 90 days of your working life. Were you working harder, or were you working towards something specific? Those are not the same question. Effort multiplied by the right direction builds wealth. Effort multiplied by the wrong direction builds exhaustion. And the exhaustion feels exactly the same in both cases. That is the dangerous part. You cannot feel the direction problem while you're inside it. You only see it later. When you look back and ask where the years went, this was the hardest thing I had to admit to myself. I was working 14-hour days. I was disciplined. I was serious. I was doing everything a hardworking person is supposed to do, and I was moving in the wrong direction at full speed. I was not building toward financial independence. I was building toward burnout inside a system that was never designed to reward me proportionally. The direction problem stays invisible for one specific reason. The wrong direction still produces results. You still get paid. You still receive positive feedback. You still feel productive. The results just do not compound toward anything. They disappear into a system someone else designed for someone else's benefit. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime partner, talked about the power of inversion. Instead of asking how to succeed, first ask what would guarantee failure. Then avoid those things. Apply to this lesson. The inversion is simple. What would guarantee your effort never becomes wealth? Working only in active income. Never building systems. Never using leverage. Never separating your time from your output. Avoid those things. The direction starts to correct itself. The 7 lessons in this video are not 7 separate ideas. They are one idea seen from 7 angles. The relationship between effort and wealth is not automatic. It requires a structure, a direction, and a set of decisions. Most people never make those decisions because nobody told them they needed to. You are not behind. You are not broken. You have been working hard inside a framework that was not built for wealth. Now you have a different framework. Here is the final action of this video. Take one lesson from today. Only one. Write down one specific decision it requires from you. Not a goal, not a vision board. A decision you will make in the next 7 days. Something you will do or stop doing. That decision is the beginning. It is the first unit of effort pointed in the right direction. Effort in the right direction does not feel the same. You will feel the difference. Before you go, I need to tell you about the mistakes. Not the mistakes beginners make. The mistakes people make after watching a video like this. After they understand the framework. After they feel the shift. These are the costly ones. Because the person is close. They have the ideas, but they move in the wrong way. The first mistake is collecting information instead of making decisions. It looks like learning. It feels like progress. A person watches this video, feels clarity, then watches another, then reads a book, then finds a podcast, then watches another video. Weeks pass. The account looks exactly the same. I made this mistake after my first real financial wake-up. I spent almost 4 months consuming content. I could explain compounding, leverage, and passive income clearly to anyone who asked. I had made 0 actual financial decisions in those 4 months. 0. The account looked the same on day 120 as it did on day 1. The fix is simple and uncomfortable. After this video ends, give yourself 48 hours. In that time, make one specific financial decision, not a plan. A decision. Open a savings account. Cancel a subscription you have been ignoring. Move one amount of money anywhere. One action that changes the account in any direction. The habit of deciding is what matters, not the size of the first decision. The second mistake is making a large move too soon. Someone watches content like this and feels urgency. That urgency is correct, but the speed is wrong. They quit the job before the side income is stable. They invest a large sum in something they do not fully understand. They sign an agreement based on excitement rather than preparation. I made this mistake. It cost me more than I want to say in a public video. The number was large enough to set me back almost 2 years. Not because the idea was wrong, because the timing was wrong, and the preparation was not there. The fix is sequencing. Build the new thing while the old thing is still running. Let alternative income reach at least 50% of your current income before you reduce the active income. That threshold is not a rule. It is a cushion. Cushions matter when the unexpected happens. And the unexpected always happens. The third mistake is doing it in isolation. A person understands the framework, they have a plan, but nobody around them is thinking in the same direction. So the environment pulls them back. Conversations at home and at work reinforce the old framework. Small pressures accumulate. The plan fades quietly. Find one person, just one. Someone asking the same questions you are asking now. Not someone with all the answers. Someone one step ahead on the same road. Share the decisions you are making. Ask for honest feedback. Accountability is not a soft concept. It is a financial tool. Use it. If I had to pick one lesson from today, I would pick lesson 7, direction. Not because the other lessons are less important. Leverage is real. Systems are real. Time is the most valuable asset any of us has. All of that is true. But direction is the one that changes everything else. You can understand leverage and still apply it the wrong way. You can build a system pointed at the wrong outcome. You can protect your time and invest it in the wrong place. Direction is the multiplier underneath every other lesson we covered. I learned this the hardest way possible. 3 years of 14-hour days. Real effort, real discipline, real sacrifice. And at the end of those 3 years, the financial result was almost nothing. Not because I was not working, because the direction was wrong from the very first day. When I finally stopped and asked the honest question, everything changed. The question was simple. Where is this actually going? Not where do I hope it is going? Where is it mathematically, structurally, actually going? The answer was uncomfortable. It was going nowhere I wanted to be. So I stopped. I changed direction. It cost me time. It cost me comfort. It cost me some relationships built on the old version of me. But it was the most financially productive decision I ever made. I do not know your specific situation. I do not know how many hours you are working. I do not know what the number looks like right now. But I know you are here because you felt something, a gap between what you are putting in and what you are getting back. That feeling is real. It is not weakness, it is accuracy. The gap is information. Listen to it. Hard work is not the enemy, it never was. But hard work without direction is the most expensive mistake a person can make. Not because the effort is wasted, because the years are wasted, and the years do not come back. You still have time. The direction can change today, not tomorrow, today. The number in your account is not your final answer. It is where you are starting from. If today's lesson stayed with you, press subscribe. Not for me, for you. So the next lesson finds you.